representative of the deep state, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and his predecessor Henry Kiss My Assinger have arrived in Switzerland, no surprise, Rothschild country, for the 67th annual mysterious Bilderberg conference this week. Also in attendance was Jared Kushner. Oops. Also this week, the entity known as Hillary, the cyber criminal herself, has been asked to host a cyber defense conference. It's a mad world. Presumably to tell them how to hack into various government servers, and then, when caught, how to delete the evidence. We also, in this week, had so-called German historian Marie Sophie Hinks, famous for her blog about family members who perished in the Holocaust, has been caught in a lie after stating 22 of her family were in Auschwitz and died, when in fact 0 of them were. In fact, her relatives were not even Jewish. Also this week, where people call the group a cult and follow every word I say, but when you ask people to search for answers themselves, they get stroppy and send elongated responses. Or where the media drum up anti-Trump and the performing SEALs all oblige and clap, yet curiously don't demonstrate against issues or people that are damaging their own country. Yes, you, England, and yes, you, Ireland as well. Strange world it is indeed. Right, let's get into the news. Mexican Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard has rushed to Washington this past week in an effort to head off President Trump's sudden plan to slap import penalties on everything from cars to vegetables, and beginning what is fairly high-stakes discussions to defuse the economic risk to both countries. Well, you didn't comply, did you? And that's what happens when you don't comply. Now, the two sides were due to meet in Washington on yesterday, which is kind of odd, given Trump is still in the UK, I think. Maybe he's not no more. And in a Twitter post from the airport, Ebrard wrote that he had spoken with Secretary of State and Deep State clown Mike Pompeo, and also Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Funny how those names come up, isn't it? And that the negotiation process begins. He said that he had heard interest and respect from the two men expressed towards Mexico's president, Mr. Obrador, and he wrote, "We move forward." Now, the rush meeting comes amid a chaotic 48 hours in which Trump defied numerous aides and ordered them to impose tariffs on Mexico because he felt the US southern neighbour was not doing enough to stem the flow of migrants, dimensionals, perverts and organ harvesters across the border, not to mention gangsters. Now, the decision shocked lawmakers, business leaders and also investors, in part because it was the second trade war against a major economic partner that Trump has launched in the span of the past 21 days. Actually, it's not, if you follow anything, which most people don't, because, Trump was warning Mexico and Canada 2 years ago. All that got lost in the Mueller, Pelosi, Clinton clowning around. North Korea executed its nuclear envoy to the United States as part of a purge of officials who steered negotiations for a failed summit between the leader Kim Jong-un and President Trump. Now, Kim Hyok Chol was executed in March at Mirim Airport in Pyongyang, along with 4 foreign ministry officials after they were charged with spying for the United States deep state. I added the deep state. Citing an unidentified source with knowledge of the situation, and he was accused of spying for the deep state, United States, for poorly reporting on negotiations without properly grasping US intentions. Reuters was unable to independently confirm the report. We'll have more on that later. Tehran, those nasty Iranians with all their nuclear capabilities, ignoring the fact that the Israelis sold them nuclear weapons 20 years ago. Oops. Anyway, they've had UN nuclear watchdog go in, and it has stayed within the central limits on its atomic activities set by its deal with major powers, according to the quarterly report from the UN watchdog on Friday. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency report, which was sent to the IAEA member states, said Iran had stayed within caps on items including the level to which it enriches uranium and its stock of enriched uranium. Tehran says it's abiding by the agreement despite the US withdrawal. However, Iran threatened 3 weeks ago to increase its uranium enrichment program if countries do not find a way to shield it from the impact of US sanctions. German Chancellor Angela Merkel says her coalition government will continue despite the surprise resignation of the leader of its junior partner, the Social Nazi Democratic Party. Ms. Merkel said that she respected the far-reaching decision by Andrea Nahles, and she resigned after her centre-left party came third behind Mrs. Merkel's Christian Democrats. Christian Democrats, oh dear. And the Greens in the European elections. Oh dear, is that the reptilians? Maybe not. Now, she's being criticised by the SPD and by the left for remaining in the coalition. Now, the offset of that is Germany, like Israel, is now left with no overall government. Turkey's planned deployment of Russian S-400 missile defence systems would be devastating for the F-35 programme, to which Ankara has contributed to over $1 billion, the Pentagon has warned this week. And completion of this transaction will be devastating not only for the F-35 programme, on which the West has placed its modernised integrated air capability, but it would potentially rupture Turkish interoperability with NATO. Sounds like a good deal then. And a key aspect of the so-called Defence Alliance, according to Catherine Wheelbarger, Acting Assistant Secretary of Defence for International Security Affairs. Now, Washington must not allow the $2.5 billion deal between Turkey and Russia to proceed, she told an audience at the Atlantic Council in Washington last week, hinting that Russia cannot wait to get their hands on American secrets. Oh boy, has somebody not filled it in? Perhaps you need to listen to this show. The Russians have had American secrets, and Americans have had Russian secrets, and Israeli secrets, and Australia secrets, and China secrets for the last 70 years, but they've all been working together. You need to wake up, girl. Let's be clear, the S-400 is a Russian system designed to shoot down an aircraft like an F-35, and it is inconceivable to imagine Russia not taking advantage of that collection opportunity, she warned. Yeah, you need to do some research, Miss Wheelbarger. Oh dear. Told you these people know jack shit. Just before midnight on Friday, at the close of what was a fairly hectic month for markets, it will get more hectic. The Wall Street Journal dropped a bit of a bombshell of a story, and the paper reported that the DOJ has opened an antitrust investigation of Alphabet Inc., aka Google, which could present a major new layer of regulatory scrutiny for the search giant, according to people familiar with the matter. And the report was sourced to people, what was swiftly corroborated by the New York Times, Bloomberg and others. Now, for many months now, the FTC has appeared to be gearing up for a showdown with the big tech, and the agency, which shares antitrust authority with the DOJ, has created a new commission that could help undo big tech tie-ups like Facebook's acquisition of Instagram, and hired lawyers who have advanced new anti-monopoly theories that would help justify the breakup of companies like Amazon. But as it turns out, the Trump administration's first salvo against big tech didn't come from the FTC. Instead, this responsibility has been delegated directly to the DOJ, Department of Justice for those in Europe, which is reportedly being tasked with supervising the investigation into Google. That's not kind of surprising, since the FTC already had its chance to nail Google with an anti-monopoly probe back in 2013, but the agency came up short. Yes, probably the brown envelope in the back pocket works rather well. Maybe not going forward. From what we can tell, it appears that the administration will divvy up responsibility for any future antitrust investigations between the two agencies, which means the FTC, which is already reportedly preparing to levy a massive fine against Facebook, could end up taking the lead in those cases. Where are we? Last news item. The US is continuing a strategy of containing Russia militarily by forming deepening military alliances on the country's border. Now, the strategy is not too helpful. Even if it means forming relationships with nationalists, they will just carry on. Just this month, Estonia signed a defence cooperation agreement with the United States, and that's the third and final Baltic state to do so. Now, the news of this strengthening military alliance has come about at the same time as the entering into force of another defence cooperation agreement, this time signed with the United Arab Emirates. Now, the US-Estonia agreement was signed at the Pentagon and reportedly covers defence cooperation for the two nations through to the year 2024, though it provides little detail on what will take place over the next 5 years, let alone a dollar figure as to the amount the US taxpayers will be contributing to it. However, what we do know, according to the US Defense Department release, is that the areas of cooperation will likely include capability development and defence-related aid. So we're going to give another country money. Training exercises, cyber defence and the Estonian Defence League training areas and host nation support. I'm not being funny, but this country needs defence-related aid. It also needs massive amount of training, not just military either. And we also, as a host nation, need support. And clearly, given Hillary's capability and the clowns in various departments, we need massive amounts of cyber defence also. Surely that money would be better spent at home. It also seems likely that Estonia will be looking to host more military exercises on its soil, including cyber-based exercises. Now, as it transpires, Estonia is one of the most advanced countries in the world when it comes to the use of cyber technology. Oops. And famous for the implementation of its so-called e-government. What people don't know is Skype was created by Estonians, and much of Skype's technical work still runs from that particular Baltic state. Now, according to Stratfor, we haven't heard that name for a while, Israeli intelligence, the people who pay Alex Jones. Oh, I've got a terrible throat in my throat. The world's leading geopolitical intelligence platform, aligned with DEBKA, Mossad. Estonia has become a leader in issues of cybersecurity, and the nation is currently home to NATO's Cooperative Cyber Defence Control Centre of Excellence. I can breathe now. In other words, open source. I wonder who promotes that on the internet. It's all there. Final news item before we go into some Q&A and sub-intel. The state senator from Arkansas, who was allegedly investigating with a DHS insider on exposing the missing $27 million from the DHS Child Protection Services, which I find really odd, with tentative links that go back to the Clinton Foundation. This also follows a police raid of Anne's former IT guy residence in the past week. The net is closing. But the questions remain as to how much evidence is required on Anne on several cases. It's well over a dozen. Never mind the Clinton death trail. Before it gets arrested. And also, why is child protection linked to the Department of Homeland Security? Just what is the role of the Department of Homeland Security? For those of you who can remember last week, the issue of them getting huge amounts of funds for mental health, along with the Department of Energy, via the rogue fake name man Bill de Blasio in New York. Massive amounts of our money is being wasted in these fake programs, shell corporations and all kinds.